Welcome to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor and Rethink Retail's top retail expert for 2024. Each week, I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and brands to dispel the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the retail industry. You can listen back to previous Retail Tea Break podcast episodes on your favourite podcast platform or, of course, on YouTube. And while you're there, please do subscribe to the podcast so that you get to listen to it first every week. So in the meantime, grab that cup of tea, sit back and listen in to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. So today I'm joined by 3 very special guests to explore how working together has brought a well-loved brand to life in its forever home. First up, I'm joined by Aoibhín Garrihy and Sharon Connellan from BEO, a nationally renowned lifestyle brand which blends live events, promoting self-care with their product line, which offers thoughtfully created collections from sustainable and ethical sources here in the west of Ireland. Since launching their product brand back in 2019, BEO has become the go-to wellness brand. And of course, they've recently opened their very own bricks and mortar store in their hometown of Ennis. I'm also joined by Ciara Petty from Ciara Petty Design Studio, which is a full-service interior design agency specialising in strategic brand-focused retail, food service and hospitality design. With the combined expertise and diverse experiences of working with global brands on international retail projects, Ciara Petty Design Studio brings this knowledge to the Irish and international retail and hospitality sectors. So ladies, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Thanks for having us.
I'm absolutely delighted to be able to bring you all together. A well-known brand, as I said, but also such incredible design expertise. And I suppose as we're going to hear today, I hope, how you've all come together to create this unbelievable shopping and wellness and community experience here in your hometown of Ennis, which is incredible. So to kick us off, Aoibhín and Sharon, tell us a bit more about the brand and the significance of putting down roots in Ennis.
I'll let you start, sure.
Yeah, so I suppose we've been in business for nearly 7 years. We started in the live event space, and that very much shifted during the pandemic, and we had to kind of, sink or swim. So we kind of evolved, and we went down the retail side of things, product development, and we got a lovely kind of taste for retail. I think towards the end of COVID, we were approached by Arnott's to have a pop-up there. And we were there for a month, I think it was August 2020. And then I suppose we got the bug then. We just loved retail and we loved meet your customer. And we decided to kind of keep going with the pop-up models. We had lots of pop-ups. We had a couple in Ennis, our hometown. We were in Kildare Village. We had a few other things kind of along the way. But I guess you get tired of being on the road all the time. There was no road long enough for a very long time. But I suppose, 3 smallies each, we have 6 between us under the age of 7 now. So yeah, the road kind of brought us home eventually. And we decided it's time to put down roots, because if you don't put down roots, you won't grow. And it was important for us to do that in our hometown. So we're very excited to have done that in Ennis. And we found the most beautiful, charming townhouse. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's on O'Connell Street. It's right in the heart of town. It had been derelict for a long time, but just a beautiful building that has been brought back to life with the help of Ciara. And we were delighted to team up with her. And yeah, we're just thrilled to be open now and to be opening the coffee house in a matter of weeks.
How exciting. And again, so much about this journey. I love the fact that, as you said, you're a growing brand, putting down the roots. And Ciara, it's really clear then that BEO has this, solid vision for the future. They're a solid brand. How important is that for you as a designer to be given a strong brief that, encompasses everything that a brand like this has, and also this key vision for the future in this beautiful building?
Well, I suppose a strong brief is really essential. And I suppose from the outset, working with Sharon and Aoibhín, it was always very clear there was going to be the 3 formats. So they're going to have the retail, the cafe, and the studio all under the one roof. And I suppose from my point of view, the common thread between the 3 was community. And, as I got to know the brand, I got to know the girls, this became kind of really at the forefront of the brief. And I suppose, look, to answer the question, a strong brief is essential with in terms of the details. We need to know the nitty gritty. We need to know what we're selling, what we're merchandising, what the hero product is, but it can be two pronged as well, I think. So it's really important to understand how we want the BEO customer to feel as they come through the door, whether it's the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time. We want to make sure that we are making the right impact. And, you know, at the end of the day, as Sharon was saying, this is the kind of bricks and mortar reflection of the BEO brand. So it is really essential we get that right from the outset. And also just to echo Sharon and Aoibhín that it's been a real pleasure for me to work on this project and collaborate with them. And it's amazing to look back a year down the line and see how far we've come and really and also see how far the building has come, because when I first saw it, it really was. I mean, we can't kind of overemphasize the condition of the building, and you know, it's really rewarding now to see how we've, as a team, like breathed new life into it. And, you know, even from a sustainability point of view, like to see, you know, a derelict building that was in the center of Ennis, and we've kind of transformed it. And, you know, it's been a real, I suppose, team effort and a pleasure to work on.
Those before and after pictures are going to be
Yeah.
very important to really echo that message.
Yes.
Absolutely gold.
How incredible. I think there's so many things there. So we've got really strong brand values. As you said, you know, the team really know and understand what they're selling, who they're selling to, Ciara, which again,
Mhm.
for you must make life so much easier. But I love that kind of aspect that actually this building was sitting
Mm.
there. It's in the heart of the community there in Ennis. I know that street very well, as I'm sure a lot of
Mhm.
listeners will. And that actually you've been able to just bring this brand, which technically on paper, you know, is a couple of words, is a feeling, is an essence of what the girls
Mhm.
have been doing for the last few years. You've been able to bring that to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose also you're spot on, because it was kind of a unique project in the sense that it was working with BEO, but also working with this gorgeous building that almost had a personality of itself as
Mm.
well. And as you say, you know, it was a well-known building in town, and, you know, very fondly thought of, and people have a lot of memories about it. So it's really nice to combine those two and kind of, I suppose, bring that building into the 21st century under the kind of, I suppose, guardianship of such a nice, well-respected local brand that, you know, whose brand values I also really admire. So yeah, absolutely. It's been great.
I love that. And actually, what I'm already hearing from the three of you is there's a lot of heart and soul gone into this project. Yes, the brand carries it, and I'm sure your customers feel that. But that's really carried on through the building. And I suppose with that, to be really clear, as you said, Sharon, this is not just a retail space. Community is absolutely at the heart of everything that BO does. So, you know, whether it's the essence of the brand, whether it's the building in the middle of Ennis, it's part of BO. So, how did you then hope that this building would almost bring everything together and reflect that for you?
I suppose we always knew about the potential of having something like this in our hometown. And you know, we began as a community focused brand to begin with. Everything we did was about that shared experience. A room full of strangers that ended the day hugging, you know, and it was all about being there together. Then the pandemic hit, as Sharon mentioned, and we lost that sense of togetherness. But we've kind of reclaimed it again since. And we had a pop up in Lahinch over the summer months, and we saw what could be done in a very small space, a very small retail space, but how we could create that wellness hub or that sense of community somewhere where people can come together to fill their cup, essentially. And it's a quote we always used to use at BO that, you know, you can't serve from an empty vessel. And I suppose it's that concept of getting people together to kind of recharge and to fill the cup. So I suppose the building itself, it lent itself to that three-pronged approach, as you mentioned. But I suppose we've looked as well to other businesses over the past few months that we've really admired, whether it's across the pond or across the Atlantic, or even, you know, as near as Limerick, there was another brand that we really admired in Duo there. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but again, just that similar model where you have people coming together for a coffee and a shared experience, or also joining a class and maybe enjoying the retail space as well. So it's something that we've always wanted to do. It was just a matter of timing, I suppose, and making sure that the ducks were in a row and eventually the stars aligned. not by chance. We sort of really hunted down the landlord, found a way.
We stalked him for about 6 months. He lives in Florida, and it was a challenge to get him to even reply to an email, but we were adamant, and we kept trying and trying and trying, and eventually, we got to meet him, and then the rest is history.
Sharon manifested it to begin with. When we were closing down our Christmas pop-up, we kind of closed the door out on Christmas Eve. And that was going to be the end of our presence in Ennis and in the town. She said, we need to be here full time and we need to find a place. And then she saw the building.
We were always on the hunt, both of us. We were always looking at empty buildings. Anywhere empty we would be interested in. Oh, I wonder would that be nice for a pop-up? But we liked being in Ennis, and we have, I suppose, an audience in Ennis, and it's a very special place to both of us. It's where we both call home, where our children go to school. It's where we want to be.
And where the brand is inspired as well, I suppose, the landscape of the west of Ireland.
And we had closed the doors on a pop-up on O'Connell Street, just further down the street, 2 Christmases ago. And I was just locking the door. It was about 1:00 and it's time to go home Christmas Eve. And I saw 71, and I just kind of looked up, and there was a little bit of activity. I knew they were repairing the roof, and there was something happening. And I just looked up and thought, God, that's such a beautiful building. I absolutely love it. And I was like, I'm going to really
find the bottom of it.
Yeah, and I find out who wants this, who has bought this building. And I started making inquiries, and Chamber of Commerce, actually, Margaret in the Chamber was a very good help. And she was able to get me an email and a contact number and kind of put the feelers out there. And even when it was radio silence back, she kept trying for us. So we definitely, owe her a lot.
And put us in contact with Ciara as well.
And Ciara too, yeah.
That's incredible. So persistent, to say the least, but obviously it's really paid off, because it just sounds like the perfect building. Like, again, you couldn't have built a building like this, but also there's something really special about bringing together the retail, the coffee space, obviously the wellness and community space. Nowadays, we'd probably call it experiential retail, but you've not done it to be trendy. It's really very much part of who you are. But I suppose, Ciara, for you, probably made life a little bit more tricky that this wasn't solely a retail space. So what was the process for you to then develop these spaces that all obviously under one roof, all under one brand, but with very different needs?
Well, Melissa, I always start from the same, I suppose, point of view, which is the kind of where is the commercial focus? And, I have to kind of get to grips with the business and the brand and really get an understanding of what's behind it. And I suppose, at the end of the day, my clients work with me to drive footfall and improve their own turnover. So we really need to understand, the customer journey, and particularly in this building, like, how is the BEO customer going to journey through the space, through the retail, through the cafe, and into the studio space, and where can we make enhancements, where can we improve sales and potentially crossover sales, for example, from going to a yoga class, stopping to have a coffee, and then have a browse through the retail. But also within the separate zones themselves, even as if we take the retail, how can we drive impulse purchases, and how can we integrate some digital, which will perhaps have a bounce back for online sales. So that's kind of stage one. And then whilst I'm working on that, I am developing kind of the concept or the look and feel of how the space is going to look from an aesthetic point of view. And this is kind of 2-pronged. So we'll always take on feedback and then present a final concept, where the final concept should very much align with the brand and the brand vision. And in the meantime, we'll be space planning and diving into materiality and furniture and lighting design. I suppose with working with this project, BEO have a lovely tagline, inspired by our landscape. And, that really hit home to me. And I felt that was just a very clear message that we need to keep the palette very natural, very organic, and, get inspired by the landscape. So we have a gorgeous Italian fossil tile going into the cafe space that kind of harks back to let's say, the fossils of the burn, but it's a little bit more urban and a little bit more contemporary. So we're trying to kind of walk that line between being refined and being rustic. So that's kind of, I suppose, the first couple of stages of the process. And then I will develop a detailed design pack where all of the fixtures and joinery elements are kind of detailed, and then liaise with the suppliers and the shop fitter or the main contractor to get it over the line. And in this case, you know, we were very lucky. We had a great team on site, a team of local tradesmen who, I have to say, really got behind the project and really got behind the vision. Well, I'm sure there were days where, you know, they wanted to pull their hair out because there was a lot of challenges with the building itself. But it made it all the more worthwhile, you know, to see the finished article. So that's generally the process, and it's a tried and tested process. And I kind of apply the same thing to every project I work on, to be honest, Melissa.
And obviously, going through that process produces, you know, the most incredible space that, as I keep saying, is absolutely in line with the brand, but also something so special for the customer. But Aoibhín, Sharon, although that process sounds amazing and we're nearing the very final finished project with all these spaces coming together, I have no doubt that moving into this building probably came with maybe a couple of challenges. I know Ciara kind of leaned into it there a little bit. What are your key learnings, do you think, for anyone else crazy enough to make a transition like this?
Yeah, I suppose, you know, every day is a school day when you're on site, and there's going to be problems always. You know, you're not going to get it right all the time. You are going to make mistakes, but it's just not focusing on the challenges or the problems, but just to find the solution. And I think it's all about how you react. Take the learnings, you know, just know that we'll get through it. Tomorrow there'll be another problem and we'll get through that too. But it's just about, I think, keeping a level head and trying to be somewhat cool, because there's going to be problems all the time, but you will get through it. And we've taken a lot of learnings in this project. I suppose it was good that we kind of staggered the opening. So we started with the retail space. That wasn't done on purpose at all.
No.
We wanted to open everything together. That was our original plan, that we would open the retail side, the coffee house and the studio all at the same time. But we quickly realized that that was not going to happen in time for Q4, we'll say, last year. So we opened the retail space first in, what was it, October?
Yeah.
So October
Yeah.
23. And that was probably a blessing in disguise, because that meant we could focus all of our energy on the retail side. And we just parked the coffee house and the studio until the new year. And it meant that we could just focus all of our energy on that smaller space. We would have dropped too many balls. We did drop balls even with the smaller space, but we were just so grateful for the way it worked. So I guess you have to trust the process and know.
And trust the experts. And
Yeah.
that's where I suppose Ciara came
Ciara.
in, and why we were so lucky to work with Ciara. I mean, we have done pop-ups in the past and we love aesthetics, and we're quite, our strengths lie in probably our creativity and our storytelling. And we know what we're good at, what we're not good at. That's probably something that we enjoy and have always enjoyed. But I suppose we knew that this needed to be elevated. It needed to elevate the brand. I guess we needed to have, it would needed to just be the next stage for BEO. And we needed someone like Ciara to bring it to that level. And it feels like BEO has sort of come of age almost, you know.
Grown up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, and that's down to Ciara's eye, I suppose, and
Yeah.
her expertise, and, you know, friends who are close to us that would have seen BEO grow from the early days. When they walked into the retail space, they said it's very BEO, but you know that there's been an outside eye as
Yeah,
well.
it was a helping hand along the way.
So it was lovely to hear that, and I suppose, yeah, just to trust the experts that they know what they're doing, you know, and yeah, as I said, we've just been really lucky to have Ciara, and also that, as Ciara touched on, some great local talent, and all here on our doorstep as well, you know, which is amazing, and everyone knows everyone, which is great. And
Yeah.
they've worked together in the past, and all of those relationships are really important,
Yeah.
you know, and now we've kind of expanded our little black book. So when this becomes a chain.
Oh, next episode from BO, when they've taken over the country. I love that.
Go back to your question, you know, for others thinking about doing something similar, you know, you're never going to be ready. And if you had asked us a year ago, are you going to do this? Like, what? You know,
Yeah.
this just kind of happened very organically. And it just happened.
We sort of dive in and then we figure it out
Yeah.
afterwards. And if you had asked us, how are you going to do it? We wouldn't have even been able
No.
to tell you. We knew it was going to happen. And how we get there, we're still figuring it out. But
Absolutely. And that's okay. You know, bite the apple and learn how to chew later. And that's literally what we're doing. But we'll get there. And I suppose we're both so passionate about BEO. BEO has been our baby for nearly 7 years, our firstborn, we like to call it.
Sure.
And it always will be the firstborn. And, you know, you have to love your business. You have to be obsessed with your business. And we both are. So
but we're risk takers as well, which could be good or bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we just dive in, you know, and we've always been a bit that way.
So
Do you know what? It is your baby, but I think, as you've said, this brand. You're incredibly creative anyway to have got it to this stage, whether it's the kind of the community events you've had or those pop-ups. But actually, I think you took the amazing decision, which not every brand or retailer does, to bring in an expert. And, I can clearly hear there from you guys, how important Kira's expertise was on this project to elevate it to the next level. So, Kira, I suppose bringing that point to you as the expert, and we've talked about this before, some retailers out there or brands getting into retail for the first time feel that they can go it alone, which is great to a point. However, as Aoibhín and Sharon have just said there, bringing an expert in on board for this, whether it's to elevate the space, whether it's to ensure that customer journey is seamless, and therefore that customer will keep coming back and they'll say loyal to the brand. That's where your expertise really comes in here. I suppose, what would you say to retailers or brands, who might be thinking about this journey? And I suppose the girls have really pointed out a couple of challenges, but also the incredible dreams that are now coming to life in this space. Kira, for you, I suppose, what would you say to people that are thinking about maybe taking this next step, and why it's so important to bring an expert in on that journey at this stage?
I think the thing is, Vanessa, it's an investment that will pay dividends in the end, because we are taking the big picture into account and looking at it from, I suppose, a professional point of view, and also kind of with the bottom line in mind. So what's going to drive sales? What's going to improve your turnover? How can we maximize merchandising? How can we improve the customer experience? And I suppose once the customer is happy and feel like they are having a really nice experience in the store, they will return. And the thing is, the investment that they're making in somebody like me with my services, it will then pay dividends.
It's a wonderful thing for BEO to have had you involved in this project, but for you to have really brought all your A game from all that international experience that you have right home here to Ennis.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's, I suppose, that's what I suppose from my business point of view, I'm trying to do is to bring kind of my global experience. I was in London for 10 years working with international brands on big stages and across the world, from Asia, the States, Europe. And I suppose I want to bring that knowledge back to the SME businesses in Ireland and try to kind of, I suppose, blow a bit of that magic across everyone and try to really spread the love. And it doesn't have to be, the thing is, I offer different types of services for different types of businesses. So it can just be, some people might come to me just for concept design, or some people might come to me for the full package. But I'm always very willing and happy to share the knowledge that I have. And I suppose to elevate everybody, elevate all of the retail businesses, because even from a consumer point of view, from my point of view as a consumer, I love to go into a nice store or visit a nice restaurant or have a coffee in a beautiful coffee house. So, yeah, it's a little bit selfish as well.
Why not? I love that. Why not? Well, talking of coffee, and I love that seamless kind of segue into my final question. Aoibhín, Sharon, what's next for the brand?
Oh. At the moment, it feels like we're just putting one foot in front of the other and trying to get those doors open in the next few weeks. But we do think that this is something that, has potential to really grow and develop. And as I said, in the same way that Lahinch just showed us the potential and what people want, it feels like it's the new culture, that coffee, community experience.
Yeah.
It feels like there's definitely a space for it. And we're happy to provide that platform, I suppose, for people. And yeah, I was only chatting to Ciara recently on the train. We bumped into one another and she was like, "You can be open on Sunday." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the plan." And she was like, "Good."
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I do think you're really right. And it's what's so nice about what you're offering is that it's experiential, it's the coffee and it's retail, but it's all under one roof. So it's so easy for people. It's a win-win, not just for you guys, but also for your customers as well. It's somewhere that I'd like to go, and have a coffee and go to yoga class and, purchase the last minute gift.
Yeah.
But just, I suppose, to create a community space, and that's the next steps for us to really hone in on the model, but somewhere that you can fill your cup to the brim. And that's what it's all about for us. And we love meeting our customer. There's so many different, like, there's so much diversity there. We want the mom and baby to come in. We want the professionals to come in. We have the studio space. It can also be a meeting space. So there's so much potential there, but it's just getting the model right and just delivering on our promise of this space.
And we didn't mention what we're actually calling it, but it's the well. And I mean, there's lots of metaphors for the well, but it's back to basics, really, is what this is. It's, where people came together, and it's back to that tribal instinct, that we want to be together and share and love and nurture and all of those things, That's what we've been about from the get-go. And I suppose it's exciting now that we kind of have a home.
Oh, how incredible. And I am formally saying it right here on the Retail Tea Break podcast. Mayo's got to be next because I want one of them near me. And I'm sure the requests will then row in around that. But what an incredible, and actually old-fashioned sense of retail, bringing people together. Yes, you can buy your gifts, sit and have a coffee, the wellness, the studio there, that community space. That's how old school retail used to be back in the day. So it's fantastic that such a well-loved brand is bringing that back together. And of course, no doubt, that's why people love you so much. So very excited to see what continues to be such an exciting year for BEO, and no doubt it will continue. But Ciara, same kind of question. What's coming up for you over the next few months?
Well, I've had a really busy start to the year, which is great. And I think the next few months are going to be similar. I've got a couple of projects on the go. Some are nearing completion and some are actually just kicking off. I'm working with a really interesting retailer across 3 stores at the moment, and they're really diving into that experiential element as well, which is great because I think that's really essential at the moment. And in the meantime, I continue to publish my monthly blog, which hones in on the practical side of design whilst looking at how retail trends are going and what the forecasts are, and gives my customers an insight on how they can maybe achieve and kind of meet some of the challenges. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, and it's great. It's great to be busy, and it's been great chatting about it and chatting about this project. I also can't wait to see the well when the doors are open, hopefully in the next couple of months.
Fantastic. Oh, I am so pleased that we've been able to have this chat. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, please do like and share it. Remember, you can listen back to past Retail Tea Break episodes on your favorite podcast platform, or of course on YouTube. I'm going to pop all of BEO Wellness's details in the show notes, and of course how to contact Ciara as well, and the website there too. Keep an eye on BEO social media for details of the well opening up, and when they're going to open in Mayo over the next while, because I'm going to keep them to that now that I've said it. But of course, remember, you can find the show notes and all the details for today's podcast and the transcript on theretailadvisor.ie. But in the meantime, I cannot thank you enough. Aoibhín, Sharon, Ciara, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.